Whatever kind of classroom you may find yourself walking into, empowering educators is the spark, the anchor, and the perspective you need. It is your quick hit of clarity and perspective, crafted for teachers who want to teach with purpose, build stronger relationships, and create classrooms where students thrive. Think of it as your daily dose of good practice in action. Practical, grounded, and designed to create spaces where students feel seen, safe, and ready to learn, while also allowing teachers to find their own authentic flow. All right, let's dive into today's episode. Welcome to Empowering Educators. This is Ben Russell from Empowerment Ed. For today's episode, we're talking about a behaviour strategy that sits right in the middle of the escalation ladder. It's not punitive, nor is it dramatic, and definitely not a lecture, but it is a clear signal to the class if a boundary has been crossed and allows a follow-up conversation to be conducted. The strategy we're calling it is known as the 5-minute after-class chat. It's a really powerful one because it does almost three things at once. Firstly, it sends a message to the student that we've crossed a line and we're addressing this. Secondly, it sends a message to the class that I follow through calmly and consistently. And thirdly, it delays the conversation until the heat has gone out of the moment, which means the student is more regulated and perhaps more importantly, you're more composed. It's that relational consequence, the boundary marker, and it's one of the most effective ways to reset behaviour without sacrificing your teaching time during the lesson or your emotional energy when the entire class is watching you. The first question we need to ask ourselves is, when do we escalate to the 5-minute chat? There are normally three clear triggers when we can use this strategy effectively, and they all share one thing in common. The student you are speaking to has crossed a line, and it requires more than just a simple redirection. It's also going beyond the simple consequence punitive response, because we're trying to be relational managers with the students that we're working with. Trigger number 1. A pattern of low-level disruption. It's not one moment, but several over a consistent period of time, which warrants more than just your redirection. It's the constant whispering, or the tapping, the side comments, the slow-motion refusal to start work. Despite your best redirections, it's just been that pattern over time. On its own, it's nothing, but collectively, it's disruptive. And the 5-minute chat signals to that student that this pattern is not going unnoticed and we need to do something to change. Trigger number 2, a request or requirement by you is ignored. If you've given the student a reasonable chance to re-engage throughout the lesson and yet they haven't, let's say you've used redirection, non-verbals, proximity control, or even directed choice, and they've refused to follow your instructions, that's a clear escalation point. And something you must do to signal to the rest of the room that you're not going to tolerate it. Henceforth, the 5-minute chat. Or trigger number 3, a single significant behaviour. Sometimes in our lesson, one moment is enough. It could be a disrespectful comment, a refusal that disrupts the flow of the room, or a behaviour by a student that crosses one of your non-negotiables. The 5-minute chat becomes a calm, measured consequence saying, we need to talk about this, but it's not going to happen in front of your peers. The 5-minute chat is a really effective escalation because it removes the audience, removes the heat from the moment, removes ego from both you and the student, preserves the dignity of that young person, protects the relationship, and gives the students a space and an environment to be honest. Students are far more likely to reflect, perhaps apologise, or even explain themselves authentically when they're not performing for their peers. And for teachers, it avoids the trap of trying to solve a behaviour issue in the middle of the lesson, often when emotions are high and time is short. Once we've identified the why, we now have a look at the how to conduct the after-class chat. And this is where the magic can often happen. Remembering the goal is not punishment. It's providing clarity to the student, an opportunity to reflect, and a reset for our next lesson. Here's one simple conversational structure with teacher line and possible student responses to make sure we're feeling really confident walking into this escalation mode. Step 1. When we first greet the student, we need to start calm and neutral. We could simply say, "Thanks for staying back for a moment. I want to talk about what happened." The student may respond with, "Okay," or "I didn't even do anything," or start questioning straight away. In that moment, we're not going to go off sidetracking. We stay steady. Once we've identified what's going on, we need to state what we observed, and it needs to be factual, removing any emotional language from the conversation. For example, you might say to the student, "In the lesson, I noticed you were talking over instructions 3 times, even after I redirected you and gave the opportunity to correct." Or, if they refuse a movement request, "I asked you to move to the front desk and you chose not to." Really simple lines. There's no exaggeration, no judgment, we're just naming the behaviour. Step 3. State the impact. This helps the student understand the why they are here. You might say, "When this happens, it slows the class down and makes it really hard for others in the room to learn." Or, "It puts me in a position where I need to stop teaching and moving into managing behaviour, and that's not fair on everyone else." Once you've done that, the next step might be to ask for their perspective. This is where the opportunity for student voice can matter, and where you can often get honesty that you really rarely get in front of their peers. You may simply ask, "Is that the way you saw it, or what was going on for you in that moment?" And the student might respond, "I was annoyed," or "I didn't get the work," or they might try and shift blame, saying everyone else was talking, that person shouldn't have moved first. Once they've identified their perspective, you don't have to agree. What we need to do in that moment is simply listen, and we may offer a partial agreement, where we might say, "That may have been the case, or maybe so, but here's what I needed from you." To close it off, we need to reset the expectation, and this is the heart of the conversation. What you would say to the student is, "Moving forward, what I need from you is," and then you state the desired behaviour. Could be listening the first time, following a movement request if prompted, starting the task when the rest of the class is, or keeping side conversations down. My big suggestion around here, keep it simple and keep your expectation down to one element. An optional step is to offer support. So you might provide an olive branch by saying, "Is there anything you need from me that can help you achieve what you need to do for next lesson?" This keeps the relationship intact. And then finally, close the conversation. "Thank you for taking the time to get through this. Let's have a fresh start next lesson." It's short and it's clean, and most importantly, the dignity is preserved. It's a really effective strategy, as I keep on saying, because it removes that performance element. It allows honesty and honest conversation, gives space for reflection, reinforces boundaries, and most importantly, we're actually strengthening the teacher-student relationship, because often young people are looking for where those boundaries sit and guidance when they go off track. And ultimately, it shows the rest of the class that you don't allow things to fall through the cracks. You follow through. It's firm, fair, and relational, and in my opinion, the sweet spot for effectively managing classroom behaviour. Overall, the 5-minute chat sends a really clear message to those that you teach. It states to them that you care about their learning, you care about this class, and you care about helping everyone get it right, and you're not going to allow mediocrity. When it's used well, it allows the reset without resentment, and it builds a kind of classroom culture where students know you mean what you say, and you say it with respect. That's all for today's episode of Empowering Educators. If you're keen to dive deeper into more of what we do for both teachers and students at Empowerment Ed, or explore our face-to-face professional learning opportunities, head to www.empowerment-ed.com.au to see what we're building for educators like you. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, take care.